it's not a good idea to, you know, track along a line of latitude as a single-hander, because like other people will have that same idea. So I'm going to stay like 15-20 miles north of that particular line of latitude, and hopefully I'll have a bit more of a patch of ocean to myself then, which will, you know, mean sleep is easier and there's just less to watch out for. So this is a French boat I've just been chatting to on the VHF. They're talking about heading further south for more wind, but they also think it might not be worth the extra distance sailed. So yeah, we shall see. So I had a funny fishing incident there. I caught the same fish twice. Funny looking, sort of strange looking, they almost looked like a river fish. It was big enough, like, not big, it was small, like I didn't think about keeping it because I didn't really know what it was or if it would be tasty. I've never seen them before. Like I say, it looked like a river fish or a bream or something like that. I've caught 3 of them today, well 2, same one twice, so I caught him, let him off the hook and threw the hook back in roughly the same time he was dropping, and watched him circle around and grab the hook again. So clearly not that bright, but yeah, I let him off the second time as well. And yeah, apart from that, the fishing is going better this passage. Like I caught that one mahi-mahi, and then I've hooked 2 big mahi-mahis. Unfortunately I hooked them at the same time, the lines got tangled and both of them ended up getting away. Beauty of a sunrise and unexpected wind. The forecast was for it to die off completely and I'd be motoring right now, but we're going along at 4.5 knots and have been most of the night. Morning of day 6. So midday today will mark the full week at sea. It is Wednesday. No, it is Thursday, the 8th of December, and I've been underway since last Thursday lunchtime, and it's Thursday morning at the moment, so we're almost a week completed on this passage. And you can see the general progress there. So I left Cape Verde, zooming in a little. So we're currently like sailing across this absolutely enormous area dispiritingly called the Cape Verde Basin. We're like over 700 miles from Cape Verde. We'll be over 1,000 miles from Cape Verde by the time we're leaving here. Once we cross that, we'll be very much on the sort of South American Atlantic Ocean side. Thursday afternoon, and the wind has finally pretty much completely died. There's not a breath, so I've rolled away the head sail and contemplating taking down the mainsail just to stop it flogging around, because it's not really doing anything. We're still moving at 1 knot due to the current in the right direction. So that's something, but until the wind fills back in again, I guess this is where we're gonna be for the next while. Worst places to be. It's pretty comfortable. It's not a huge swell, or there's no swell at all basically, or what is there is just a very, very gentle swell, so the boat isn't all over the place. It's actually like being at anchor. Once I roll away that sail, it will actually be like being at anchor in a relatively nice anchorage. Which is crazy. Once again, I have to keep reminding myself that I'm 800 miles from the nearest land in the middle of the Atlantic, and it's just so flat. And what swell is there? That's a southerly breeze at the moment, weirdly. So that I'm looking down towards, like, about 1,000 miles that way is the coast of Brazil. About 800 miles that way is Cape Verde. About 1,000 miles that way is Senegal and the Gambia. And about 1,300 miles this way is the Caribbean. And so basically I'm in absolutely the middle of the ocean, and there's almost no waves at all, and what is there is coming from the south, like totally wind driven, and only over the last 12 hours when the wind has been blown in that direction. There's no appreciable swell coming from the north or the east, which is the direction you'd expect the swell to be coming from in the trade winds. It's just bizarre and really amazing. Like, I mean, I'm going along in 12 knots of wind and I'm sort of going 5 knots with the boat just It's like sailing in Sligo Bay, to be honest, on a calm day. It's the morning, just finishing up day 7. Day 8 will start at midday. And yeah, I went to sleep last night at about 10 or 11 at night, and it was just like a mill pond around the boat. We were going nowhere. And I woke up a couple of times throughout the night to do the logbook. I woke up at 3 and we were starting to move in the right direction, and I woke up at 6 and we were doing like 5.5, 6 knots in the right direction, so on a beam reach. So the wind is now coming from the south, which is bizarre, but I suspect there's some sort of a weather system to the north of here moving over the mid-North Atlantic that's kind of causing these areas of slack wind and areas of wind coming from the south. So I don't think it'll last very long. It's not forecast to last very long. But at the moment I'm just enjoying it while I have it. It's really nice to be beam reaching, just going along kind of easily enough now at about 4 knots at the minute, but it's starting to die off a little bit. We were going a steady 5 there for a while. Day 8 completed. Mixed bag, southerly winds, strange conditions, but generally very comfortable, very flat. Not the fastest day, 83 miles, but not the slowest as well. And we're still moving constantly westwards. It's Friday now, and the wind is set to fill back in on Monday properly, so like that's going to be very sweet when it happens. But until then, just going to enjoy the sun, and not much to report, just generally feeling good, getting through it. It's every so often it hits me like that I'm doing it, and I get emotional, and I look at the sky and I raise my arms up and have as close to a spiritual experience as I think I'm likely to have. Just being totally alone for so long, and I know it's only 8 days. Like, I mean, people sail around the world on their own and spend like literally hundreds of days at sea, but for me, obviously, this is the first time I've been alone for this length of time, and processing it all and enjoying it all is wonderful, really. So that's 1,000 nautical miles completed. Yeah, and 1,173 to go, so I should be past the halfway mark tomorrow. Yeah, it's a long way, like 1,000 miles, 10 days. Like, I feel like if I've been going a little bit quicker, it wouldn't seem like as long, you know. It's that just under an average of just under 100 miles a day is a little bit slow, and it feels that way, you know. I feel like I've been out here a long time, but then to another extent I'm really enjoying it, and it doesn't feel like any hardship. So yeah, 1,000 miles, yay! Next big milestone tomorrow, we're going to be halfway. Yeah, so for the first time in a few days, we're kind of ripping along now. Well, 5.5 knots or so, which feels like ripping along. That's really nice. Very frustrating. So, just completed day 11, 1,088 miles sailed, 1,090 to go. So, in about 1 mile, we'll be at the halfway mark. Halfway, 1,089 sailed and 1,089 to go. So, about 1,000 miles from Cape Verde, about 1,000 miles from Martinique, about 1,000 miles from the Guyanas and Suriname, and about 1,000 miles from the coast of Brazil down here. That's pretty much nothing to the north, a long way north until you get up to Greenland. Here's the situation on the bigger chart, coming from Cape Verde. And around about the halfway point here, we've just crossed to another fold in the chart, which means from here on I can pretty much almost see Martinique is just beyond the next fold. Halfway, which is incredible. It feels like accidental jibe.
Honestly, that weed is going to be the death of me. It is so frustrating. And now the wind's picked up to the extent that I'm not really that happy using the other autopilot, the electric one. I might have to if things carry on like this. Like I can't be getting up all night. Like for a while I hand steered just to try and avoid the patches, and that worked, but obviously can't be doing that for any length of time either. And they're non-stop and getting bigger, so I don't know if maybe I'm missing a trick. Maybe if I go south more they won't be there. Maybe if I was further north they wouldn't be there. I'll have to see with other people when they get in if there's a strategy for avoiding these just huge clumps of weed. But they play havoc with the aries, and yeah, anyway, apart from that, halfway feels amazing. I feel like now I'll be on the countdown, like 88 miles to go, and then it's less than 1,000 miles to go to Martinique. So what's worked about the first half? I mean, everything really. It's been very smooth apart from the lack of wind. Nothing's broken really. I lost a boat hook overboard trying to clear the weed. It's been some chafing of the lines that I think I'm going to need to replace the headsail sheets before I get to Martinique. But yeah, apart from that, nothing has gone wrong really. Just like I said, the wind isn't as strong as I was hoping, and it's been in the right direction all the time, so I've always been moving more or less. Battery charging has been good, no problems with power. I've been sleeping fine. There's no ships out here at all. Very, very few other boats of any kind. The only thing really is just the length of it. It seems obvious, but the Atlantic Ocean is kind of huge, and crossing it for 11 days and only being halfway is, it's just, like, you can tell yourself, like, I knew it, obviously. I knew it was going to be, I was hoping 18 or 19 days, it's going to be 21, 22, but I know intellectually that's a long way, but you don't really feel it until you start doing it, and then it's like, oh god, yeah, this is long. It just keeps going. But that's, yeah, I mean, that's just like, obviously it's a big ocean, and 2,200 miles is a long way to sail, especially single-handed, where you're doing all the sailing, and the routine of 20, 21, 22 days, just the routine of 11 days so far, while you do fall into the routine of it, it does start to seem very long. I really hate this weed. That's the biggest problem of my life at the moment, is this stupid clumps of this just annoying weed. It's really messing up the wind vane. And it's requiring constant attention, so I can't really relax and read a book or watch a film or whatever, because I have to just make sure that it's not snagging on the vane. And yeah, but apart from that, that's my main frustration in life at the moment, and that's not a bad problem to have. So I was getting really sick of looking at Cape Verde Basin here when I was almost 1,000 miles away from Cape Verde, and I'm very glad that I can flip the page and look at the much more evocatively named Vima Fracture Zone and the Demerara Abyssal Plain. Halfway meal fit for a single-handed sailor. Absolutely enormous whale. Just came up a couple of times. Like the size of the boat, enormous. It's kind of terrifying. It came up alongside me, but I didn't really see it. I just saw an enormous wave. But I did see him the last time. Black and fast moving. So I just came up for a look around to look for ships or anything, and I noticed just beside the boat there was just this enormous wave breaking two ways, like I had just missed something enormous going underwater, and then like a couple of maybe 30 seconds later I saw another similar thing with the waves breaking side to side, and a big black fin right up the middle of it. Something very quick and big, really big. It looked like boat size, like my boat size, but I don't know exactly what it was. But it's nice to see. I haven't seen any sort of, apart from flying fish and jumping tuna and things like that, I haven't really seen very many sort of sea life on this leg, so it's really cool. I should have come back. But it was kind of terrifying at the time. But just something it's so enormous being so close to the boat is always a slightly scary prospect. Fewer than 1,000 miles to go now, which is wonderful. And really decent wind at the moment. Throughout the night we've been averaging 5.5, 6 fairly comfortably. The major issue in my life at the moment is the weeds getting caught on the wind vane steering rudder. It's kind of constant now. I was up every 45 minutes trying to clear it off. I just like be sailing along fine, and then suddenly the vane would just stop working and the boat would either round up into the wind or it would jibe and the sail would be over against the preventer. And I'd come out and the vane would be correctly angled. The rudder would just not turn right because it was just completely clogged with weeds. So scraped them off with a boat hook, pushed them down and around the bottom edge of the rudder, and then it would just start working again perfectly. But you know, it's a 5-minute operation. It's difficult to get down far enough to get it off the bottom, keep a grip on the boat hook and not fall in. So yeah, not ideal. If anybody has any advice, I'll be doing a bit of reading after this to see what the best strategy for avoiding this is, because lots of people have servo pendulum rudder wind vanes that would be affected like this. Finally, we are trade wind sailing. We have steady 15 knots from the east, and we're just trucking along at 5.5, 6 knots, and she's sailing herself goose winged. And we're right on track, which is really nice. All of that 6 knots will be going towards Martinique rather than any of it going into north or south direction. So all of that is great, as long as we can stay away from weed clumps, and during the day at least I can see them, so I can steer a little bit more clear. Just when I thought I was out. Oh well. They do seem to be slightly fewer and farther between now.